Welcome to this Friday edition on the Sunship Sports Channel of Green and Gold till I'm dead and cold. Got our lunch handed to us last night, didn't we? We're going to talk about the offense. We're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about the special teams. We're definitely going to talk about the coaching because we got beat in all phases of the game. Detroit looks like the real deal. They look like a division-winning football team. You could tell by their body language, their physicality, their execution, the coaching. Detroit is a damn good football team, and they were just better than us last night. Now, I'm not one of those guys that say the sky is falling, because I do realize we have the youngest roster in the NFL. But I don't think that it was our youth and inexperience that lost us this game. So let's start with the offense. So the offense for the Green Bay Packers, we started out. Well, first of all, let's just go over a couple things. Last night we lost 34-20, but anybody who thinks that was a 2-score game is fooling themselves. Yeah, we came back, we cut it to 10, then we made some dumb plays again, and they ended up winning 34-20. It felt like a 4-score loss. You know, if you get some junk touchdowns at the end, things of that nature, it just doesn't make you feel good about it. It feels like you're padding stats. I had somebody tell me, hey, Chris, Jordan Love actually had a 64% completion percentage last night. Yeah, but a lot of that came in the second half when Detroit was dropping back because they knew Green Bay had to pass, and so they were giving him all the short stuff. Now, he had some really nice passes. I love the 40-yard bomb that he got to Jaden Reed, and he made some nice throws in that second half that weren't easy. And he played a hell of a lot better in the second half. But mainly it was the third quarter. In the second half, we won 17-7. The problem was that we got beat 27-3 in the first half. Look, Green Bay had only run 11 plays when the score was 24-3. That's how abysmal the offense was. And I don't know why we can't make adjustments in real time. Why do we have to wait till halftime? Royce Newman should not be on the field anymore. He just shouldn't. They were moving Hutchinson around. They were putting him on top of Royce Newman a lot, and he was getting beat like a drum. Aleem McNeil had a great game. Buggs had a great game. Charles Harris had a nice game. They just punished our offensive line in a lot of different areas. We didn't make the adjustments that we needed to. Matt LaFleur got cute with his play calling again. You just got Aaron Jones back. We're down 2 or 3 touchdowns by the time he even touches the ball. I don't have the answers for why we do that. Now, I've watched Coach LaFleur's press conferences both last night when he was pretty testy and today when he was a little more apologetic about his testiness after the game last night. Now, to his credit, he comes out and he says, we can't keep doing the same things on defense. Schematically, we're just playing it wrong. Like, the only thing he hasn't come straight out and said is Joe Barry sucks, which obviously he probably can't say, but that's kind of how we're all feeling right now. So, Green Bay only got 15 first downs the entire game to Detroit's 25. 13 of Detroit's 25 first downs were rushing the ball. 2 of Green Bay's were. They ran that ball down our throats. We only had 53 plays to their 73. Their total yards, 401 to our 230. We ended up with more passing yards because we had to come back at the end, or we had to basically do nothing but pass at the end. And as I said, he was 23 of 36, which is basically 64%. He got sacked 5 times. Now, I'm not going to say that Jordan Love played well because He had a couple of interceptions. One was a tip. The other one was just plain old ugly. He did have a touchdown pass. He had the nice quarterback draw. He did look a lot better in the second half. And his completion percentage was the best it's been all year, but I still feel like it was his worst performance. I can't put my finger on it, but you just look at it and you're like, no, it doesn't pass the eye test. Now, some of that was because we only had 27 rushing yards all night to their 211. I don't know how many times we're going to give up over 200 rushing yards per game, but it's happening quite frequently. 2.3 yards per rush. They averaged 5 yards per rush. We didn't have as many penalties as them, but we had ours at the dumbest moments possible. Rich Bisaccia, how come your guys that play special teams, including a starting inside linebacker, or don't know you can't get a running start and jump over the line? You have a 1 yard gap. That's it, which basically means you have to flat foot jump over that line, which just means you're stupid for trying. Quay Walker has to know that. Quay Walker's had some issues himself, but I feel like he played great last night. He was probably our best, no, not probably, he was our best tackler on the field. Obviously, we had a couple of turnovers, and then we couldn't capitalize the way we needed to on their first turnover. Should have stuck that in the end zone. Couldn't. Don't understand the play calling. A.J. Dillon was on the field, it seems like, more than Aaron Jones. And look, guys, I get it. Aaron has been hurt recently. So he was on a pitch count or a snap count, let's say. Same with Christian Watson. But our time of possession, we were only on the field 22 minutes in a 60-minute game. They were on the field 38 minutes. You can't win like that. You just can't. You cannot win like that. Green Bay, in 3 out of their 4 games, I'd say 4, but the Bears were just awful. But we didn't necessarily play our best then either. 3 of our 4 games, we have played either one half or one quarter of good football. We are a Derek Carr sack and injury away from being 1-3, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. That Atlanta game, we actually played basically almost 3 good quarters, and then our defensive scheme, when we knew they had to run, and they ran it down our throats again, gave up the game for us. Last night, when we got within 10 points, and Jordan Love in the offense was hot, what did Detroit do? Ran the football. We stayed in the nickel. We're a base 3-4. We stayed in the nickel. We knew they had to run the ball to burn clock. We stayed in the nickel. Joe Barry can't coach anything other than stay in the nickel. For Joe Barry to be successful, this team has to have the lead all the time. So that way he can play a defense where he can get his pass rushers, which Green Bay has quite a few after you, and then depend on his secondary to opportunistically turn the ball over for the Packers. I know I said that I was going to get to Joe Barry later, and I keep finding myself going back to the defense because I'm so furious about it. But I'll get back to the offense. So last night, if you watched the game, which was painful, if you watched the styles of the two coaches, if you were to take Dan Campbell and put him in an octagon steel cage with Matt LaFleur, that's what last night looked like. You just had the bigger, stronger, tougher coach going up against more of the finesse pretty boy. And it got ugly. And it got ugly fast. Dan Campbell has this team believing. And they whooped us. They whooped us well. We're going to feel that one for a while, and we should. Now, thankfully, we have 10 days off. We don't play again until Monday Night Football in Las Vegas when we go see our old buddy Devontae Adams. So we are going to have to figure some things out. Offensively, look, you guys know how I feel about the play calling. I don't understand why, when we are supposed to depend on a running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon and with this new kid, Emmanuel Wilson. Look, I get that we're down some offensive linemen, but you have to establish the run. You have a young, inexperienced quarterback who, although talented, does need to have a little bit of assistance. I cannot understand why they didn't try to establish the run more. I know that not having David Bakhtiari and Elgin Jenkins hurts, but they needed to make that adjustment after the first quarter, and they didn't. So let's talk about some of these adjustments. The offensive line, look, if I'm coaching this team, I'm coaching it as if we're never going to have David Bakhtiari in a Packers uniform again. Not after week 9, not after this season. I know that may sound negative. It's not. It's practical. You tell me one thing over the past 3 years that gives you realistic hope, not your fandom hope. We knock that shit off here. Realistic hope that David Bakhtiari is going to be in a Packers uniform anytime soon. So our best young offensive lineman is Zach Tom, our right tackle. I like John Runyon. Josh Myers is growing on me. He definitely needs to improve. But I don't think either one of those two are bad. And I think John Runyon Jr. is actually really good. But Zach Tom, I think, is the best of the three. So what you do right now is you switch him from right tackle to left tackle. And you let Walker, Nyman, and Caleb Jones fight over that right tackle spot. Now, Elgin Jenkins is either going to be back for the Raiders game or the Broncos game. So that should take care of our left guard spot. You still have Myers at center. You got Runyon at right guard. And like I said, I believe Walker, Nyman, or Caleb Jones could be a very serviceable right tackle. But it takes a special extra oomph and talent to be a left tackle. And I think Zach Tom has it. I think Zach Tom can play any of the positions on the offensive line, and I think he can play them at a high level. Now, if you don't like that idea, you can leave Zach Tom at right tackle. We've toyed with bumping Elgin Jenkins to left tackle before, where he performed nicely. He wasn't as good as David Bakhtiari, but he performed nicely. And then we also have this young man named Sean Ryan, third-round draft pick out of UCLA last year, who never got onto the field because of suspensions, but is on the team now. Look, Green Bay puts 5th and 6th rounders on the starting offensive line consistently. Get Sean Ryan on the field. He can't be any worse than Royce Newman. He can't be. It's not possible. Royce is getting shoved all around the field. I was surprised when Royce made the team as a backup. That's how far he's fallen in my estimation. Now, Royce was like a pitcher that had just given up like 6 home runs in a row. You've got to get him off the field. You've got to get him off that pitcher's mound. You're hurting him as a player by leaving him in right now. Get Sean Ryan in there. He could have last night. We could have put Sean Ryan in the game. It couldn't have been worse. Why do we wait to make adjustments until either halftime or after the game? Sean Ryan never got in there. We should have tried something. We could have moved Zach Tom over to left tackle and put Nyman in at right tackle. We could have tried something. We didn't. And Jordan Love, although he didn't play well, was running for his life. I'll tell you what I did like about Jordan Love. So let's look at some positives moving forward for the offense. Matt LaFleur has said that the scripted play calls in the beginning were not the ones that he should have ran. he should have looked at his personnel groups and decided to go in different directions. Jordan Love, I thought, he didn't shy away from the moment. Jordan Love didn't play great, but he didn't get sporadic or scared like you see Zach Wilson over in New York play. He never looked like he didn't feel like the team had a chance, like you see on the face of someone like Justin Fields in Chicago from time to time. And like I said, he went on that hot streak in the third quarter where even I looked at the TV and I said, this isn't going to happen 2 weeks in a row, is it? When we cut that lead to 10, I'm like, there's 8 minutes left in this game. If we get a quick 3 and out and Jordan drives us right back down and all of a sudden it's a 3-point game or a 7-point game with 4 minutes left on the clock and we got all our timeouts left, anything could happen. Well, that didn't happen, and we'll get to why it didn't happen. But Jordan Love showed moxie again. The moment's not too big for him. He's not going to close up in a shell if the game's not going well. Look, I'm not comparing him to his body of work, so don't get me wrong, but he's got a little Favre in him that way. He'll just keep coming at you. If he throws an interception, if he does whatever, he will keep coming at you. And he's talented enough to make some plays. That was a beautiful quarterback draw. I loved that play. And he's athletic enough to pull it off. He had some really nice throws. Now, he had some stinkers too. He had some overthrows, which is kind of what makes you scratch your head and think, okay, maybe this guy just needs more reps. You know, some of these guys in the NFL that are playing well now that maybe weren't the high draft picks, but they played 3 or 4 years as the starter at their college. And they've played a ton of snaps. He sat behind Aaron for 3 years. Okay, let's see what he looks like 8-9 games into the season. We're about halfway to the halfway point. Let's see what he looks like after these next 2 games. We've got 10 days to prepare for the Las Vegas Raiders. And then we have the bye week. So what, another 12 or 13 days to prepare for the Denver Broncos. Let's see what Jordan Love looks like after that. All right. Now to the defensive side of the ball. You know, you could have put Matt LaFleur or Joe Barry in that octagon with Dan Campbell. It would have looked the same. Joe Barry, I believe, is in Green Bay because at this point, Green Bay just doesn't have a direction they can go to because most of the guys in that defensive coaching room have been with Barry for a while now, and it's just not working out. But after the 2021 season, they offered Jim Leonhard the job. Who is Jim Leonhard? For those of you who don't know, Jim Leonhard is currently a defensive consultant for the University of Illinois, but he coached a lot of years at the University of Wisconsin. And he played a 3-4 defense at the University of Wisconsin. And he played it aggressively. He played it like he has some good shutdown corners like Green Bay has. And then he sent a lot of guys after the runner, after the passer, played up against the line a lot, did not believe in these soft shells. He believed in coming out of your shell. He believed in breaking the other guy's shell. So after the 2022 season, he actually interviewed with the Eagles. He decided that he needed to have a surgery and he wanted to take a year off, which is why he is at Illinois right now, basically just recuperating while he doesn't coach. Green Bay at the end of this season needs to go all in and offer him whatever he's worth. I know we are only 4 games into the season. Joe Barry cannot get away from how he calls games. He just can't. And we're going to lose good players. Good players are going to be like, I'm way too good of a defensive player to sit in this guy's broke-ass system. We've got a lot of first-round draft picks on that defensive side of the ball. I would love to see what Jim Leonhard does with them. Now, one guy that needs to get a lot more playing time is Carl Brooks. Carl Brooks is our 6th-round draft pick out of Bowling Green. Carl Brooks is already playing better than our 1st-round draft pick from 2022, Devonte Wyatt. Devonte Wyatt isn't as much of a run stuffer as he is a big pass rusher in the middle. Now, Carl Brooks was a defensive end in college as well, but he's been disrupting running plays this year too. I just like Carl Brooks more than I like Devonte Wyatt at this point. Kenny Clark is great. TJ Slayton's pretty good. Carl Brooks, I think, could be really good as well. I don't want to sound like I'm giving up on a 1st-round draft pick. I just think there's a better guy in the room. Until Devonte Wyatt can prove why we drafted him with a 1st-round designation, I think Carl Brooks needs to be in that starting lineup. Now, obviously, I'd like to see more 3-man and 5-man fronts instead of the nickel packages that we keep running, but Carl Brooks needs to be on the field more. Missing Jair Alexander, missing Devondre Campbell, that obviously hurt. They're the adults in the room on the defensive side of the ball, especially Campbell, who calls the defense. Jair, one of, if not the best shutdown corners in football. It was difficult to watch. And they still have Rashawn Gary somewhat on a pitch count too. So you saw a lot more of Lucas Van Ness and Kingsley Enagbare and Justin Hollins. Preston Smith was out there a lot, as well he should be. But the defense just got schooled. And as much as I want to put it all on Joe Barry, and I'm putting about 95% of it on Joe Barry, the players have to play too. They really do. And some of our high draft picks out there just aren't showing out. I think Quay Walker played outstanding. I wasn't thrilled with his special teams shenanigans. Again, like I said, that player just has to know that's against the rules. Special teams. The one that we were most worried about, Anders Carlson, has actually played really well. Carlson has kicked extremely well for Green Bay this year. Hit a field goal at the end of the game. But you have guys still not in their lanes. I don't know what Rich Bisaccia is doing to improve that. Someone has to tell Keyshawn Nixon that there are times to take the ball out of the end zone and times not to. When you're 5 and 6 yards deep in the end zone, don't do it. I get that Aaron, when Aaron was still here, told him to run out every single time. Well, yeah, because you just saw him, take back a kick return against the Vikings for a touchdown, and it was over 100 yards. The odds of him doing that on every play. Now, if he catches it at the 2-yard line or even 1 yard into the end zone, absolutely take it out. He's a great kick returner. But Detroit special teams, just like every other phase of the game yesterday, dominated our special teams unit. And then Keyshawn Nixon ran the ball into some areas where he shouldn't. I don't think Keyshawn Nixon necessarily ran to where his blocking was. I think he was trying to, psych out both sides of the ball and just try to make a play. Which at some point you can't blame him, because it's like, look, we're getting whooped anyway. I thought Christian Watson looked good in spot duty. Of course, he wasn't on the field for the full game. I hope that 10 days from now, when we're on Monday Night Football against the Raiders, that Watson and Aaron Jones and Rashawn Gary are not on pitch counts anymore. I hope that Devondre Campbell and Jair Alexander are both back from injury, along with Carrington Valentine, who played last night. I hope Luke Musgrave is recovered from his concussion that he got last night. I hope Elgin Jenkins is back for the Monday Night Football game. If not, he should be back for the game after the bye against the Broncos. But they are going to need to find their spirit. They are going to need to find that intestinal fortitude, because I saw a lot of players on the field last night in the first half. Now, it seemed like in the second half, and maybe this was Matt LaFleur's coaching at halftime, someone lit a fire, and even the defense did what they could do within the restraints of the defense that Joe Barry runs. But then we got to the fourth quarter, and Joe Barry knew that they had to run the football and left him in a nickel, just like he did against the Atlanta Falcons. And just like against the Atlanta Falcons, we lost the game. Both games we lost this year. Now, you can't pin this one squarely on that because we still would have had to come back from 10 points down. But both games that we lost this year, we needed to stop the opposing team's running game late in the game. We knew they were going to run. First of all, because that's all Atlanta can do. And second of all, because Detroit was trying to run the clock out on us. And you left in a defense with mostly defensive backs on it. Guys, I don't know what else to say. I can't make this stuff up. I mean, we just are calling the wrong stuff. Quay Walker had 19 tackles and a tackle for loss. Isaiah McDuffie, in place of Devondre Campbell, had 9 tackles. Rudy Ford actually looked relatively good. He had 8 tackles. Both Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks had sacks in the game. Matter of fact, the only 2 sacks of the game. Rudy Ford had an interception. I thought Rasul Douglas, for as much as they leaned on him, didn't play badly. But it always seemed like whenever Detroit wanted to run the ball, they outnumbered us like 6-4 or 6-3 on that line all night. And then you see the other side of the ball, they've got 8 guys up on the box. So I don't know why we didn't call better plays offensively or defensively. All I know is that it cost us dearly. And I'm sorry, folks. I know I seem a little rattled today. It's just, I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I know we can be better. We need to get better. I think Jaden Reed, he's a guy. I mean, he is a dude. Jaden Reed is going to be outstanding. It's nice to have Christian Watson back. Romeo Doubs is excellent. Doubs had 95 yards receiving. He had a really nice game. Watson had a touchdown. It just, you blinked and it was 27-3. So once that happens and you get so utterly dominated in the first half, it is really difficult to come back. Now, we don't play again till Monday Night Football next week. So we will talk about what's going on as far as maybe some moves we're making schematically. Well, let's see if they're going to make some movement on the offensive line and give Sean Ryan a shot or move Zach Tom around. When is Elgin Jenkins going to be back? I mean, all these are questions that we need answered. Are we going to have Jair Alexander back by the time Monday Night Football comes around? Hopefully we get Devondre Campbell back on defense. And what kind of schematic defense are we going to run? Because I really thought at the end of last year, those last 5 games, we were playing a lot more man, a lot more press, a lot more Jair is covering the best guy on the field and everybody else just play aggressive as hell. And we went on, a 5-game winning streak before we finally lost to the Lions in the last game of the season. But I'm going to give a lot of credit to the Detroit Lions. They're just a damn good football team. They're a damn good football team. And congratulations to Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions on taking the lead in the division right now with a 3-1 record and Green Bay at 2-2. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it, comment, let us know how we're doing, and we will see you next time.